Long before steel and gunpowder, before cities rose from the earth, there was only stone and bone and the will to survive. Our ancestors stood at the edge of extinction every single day, armed with nothing but their ingenuity and desperation. Not just hunters, but inventors who would reshape the very course of evolution with tools carved from the earth itself. What if the story of humanity began not with language or fire, but with the first weapon held in a trembling hand? This is the tale of how fragile creatures with no claws or fangs became the most dangerous predators the world had ever seen. 2.5 million years ago, the African savanna stretched endlessly beneath a sky unchanged since the age of giants. In this vast grassland walked our earliest ancestors, Homo habilis, the handyman, whose hands would change everything forever. They were small and vulnerable, surrounded by lions and hyenas and massive saber-toothed cats that ruled the ancient plains. But in their minds burned something no predator possessed: the ability to see a weapon inside an ordinary stone. The first tool was crude, a river cobble struck against another rock until sharp flakes broke free like frozen lightning. These Oldowan choppers were simple, almost accidental, yet they represented a revolution more profound than any that would follow. With these rough-edged stones, early humans could butcher carcasses that would otherwise rot beneath the merciless African sun untouched. They became scavengers first, driving away vultures and jackals with rocks and shouts, claiming meat from the kills of others. But scavenging was dangerous work, and the predators who made those kills did not surrender their prizes without a fight. The savanna was unforgiving, and every meal might be your last if you could not defend what you had taken. Then, 1,800,000 years ago, something remarkable happened that would echo through all of human history. A new species emerged. Homo erectus, the upright man, taller and stronger, with a brain that burned with innovative fire. They looked at the same stones their ancestors had used and imagined something their predecessors could never have conceived of. The hand axe was born, teardrop-shaped and symmetrical, worked on both sides until it fit perfectly in a human palm. This was not accident but artistry, not survival but vision, a tool designed with intention and refined across generations. These Acheulean hand axes were the first objects humans created according to a mental template, a blueprint held only in the mind. With them, Homo erectus could dig for roots, butcher large animals, work wood into new tools, and defend against predators with deadly efficiency. For over 1 million years, the hand axe remained unchanged, passed from parent to child like a sacred tradition carved in stone. But the world was changing, and the long ice ages were beginning to grip the northern continents in their frozen fist. As glaciers advanced and forests gave way to tundra, humans followed the herds into lands where winter never truly ended. In these harsh new environments, stone alone was not enough to guarantee survival through the brutal cold and endless darkness. The Neanderthals emerged in Europe and Asia, stocky and powerful, adapted to the Ice Age world with bodies built like furnaces. They crafted Mousterian tools, more sophisticated than anything that came before, with specialized blades for cutting, scraping, and piercing flesh. But their greatest innovation was the wooden spear, 8 feet long and fire-hardened at the tip until it became hard as stone. These spears were not thrown, but thrust at close range, requiring hunters to approach massive woolly mammoths and cave bears face to face. Imagine the courage it took to stand before a creature 10 feet tall at the shoulder, armed with only wood and stone. The Neanderthals hunted in coordinated groups, driving prey into narrow valleys where escape was impossible and death was certain. They knew their prey intimately, understood migration patterns, tracked wounded animals for days across frozen landscapes without mercy or hesitation. Yet for all their strength and skill, the Neanderthals faced a new competitor arriving from the south with revolutionary weapons. 70,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors, began their expansion out of Africa, carrying tools unlike any seen before. They had discovered how to create long, thin blades from a single stone core, producing dozens of sharp edges from one piece. These microblades could be hafted onto wooden shafts with plant resin and sinew, creating composite tools of remarkable versatility and deadly precision. But the true revolution came with the invention of the Atlatl, the spear thrower, a simple wooden lever that changed warfare forever. With an Atlatl, a hunter could hurl a spear twice as far and with 3 times the force of any thrown by hand alone.
This meant humans could kill from a distance, staying safely away from thrashing hooves and slashing tusks and desperate final charges. The Atlatl transformed humans from close-quarters hunters into long-range predators, capable of bringing down any animal that walked the earth. Around the same time, another weapon emerged from human ingenuity that would prove even more transformative across the frozen millennia ahead. The bow and arrow appeared independently in multiple locations, a testament to the universal human drive to hunt more effectively and safely. A skilled archer could strike prey from 100 yards away, hidden in tall grass or behind trees, invisible until the arrow found its mark. Arrows could be tipped with stone points shaped like leaves, barbed to prevent removal, designed to cause maximum bleeding and rapid death. These projectile weapons gave humans an advantage no other predator possessed: the ability to kill without being seen or putting themselves at risk. With bows and atlatls, humans could hunt the largest animals on Earth while minimizing the danger to themselves and their families. The great megafauna that had dominated the Ice Age world for millions of years suddenly faced a predator they could not escape. Woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths, cave bears, and saber-toothed cats began to vanish as human populations spread across every continent. What if the extinction of these magnificent creatures was not climate change alone, but the arrival of humans with weapons too effective to survive? Not just hunters, but the most efficient killers the planet had ever produced, armed with intelligence and tools that multiplied their lethality exponentially. Yet weapons were not only for hunting. They were also instruments of war as human groups competed for territory and scarce resources. The oldest evidence of human-on-human violence dates back 13,000 years, a massacre site where arrows and clubs ended dozens of lives. Weapons that fed families could also destroy them, and the same ingenuity that ensured survival could guarantee annihilation in tribal conflicts. The invention of the spear thrower and bow transformed not just hunting, but human society itself, creating specialized warrior classes and strategic warfare. By 10,000 years ago, as the Ice Age ended and the world warmed, humans had spread to every corner of the earth. They had crossed frozen land bridges, sailed to distant islands, and climbed the highest mountains, always carrying their weapons with them. Agriculture was beginning to take root in fertile river valleys,
But hunting remained central to human identity and survival for millennia to come. The weapons continued to evolve. Polished stone axes, bone harpoons for fishing, bolas for entangling running prey, traps and snares of infinite variety. Each innovation built upon the last, a continuous chain of improvement stretching back 2.5 million years to that first sharpened stone. In the hands of skilled hunters, these prehistoric weapons were devastatingly effective, capable of bringing down animals many times their wielder's size. A single, well-placed spear could pierce the heart of a bison. A single arrow could drop a deer in its tracks before it even knew danger was near. But these weapons required more than strength. They demanded knowledge, patience, practice, and an intimate understanding of both tool and prey. Young hunters spent years learning to knap flint, to attach points securely, to track animals through forests and across plains, to predict their movements. The creation of a single stone spear point could take hours of careful work, each strike of the hammerstone requiring precision and foresight. These were not crude implements, but sophisticated technologies, the culmination of countless generations of accumulated knowledge and refinement, passed down through the ages. The weapons themselves became works of art, with some stone points so finely crafted they could never have been used for anything but ceremony. They represented status, skill, and spiritual connection to the hunt. Objects imbued with meaning far beyond their practical function in taking life. In many cultures, weapons were buried with their owners, ensuring they would be armed in the afterlife for hunts that would never end. The relationship between human and weapon was sacred, a bond forged in survival and sealed with the blood of countless successful hunts across time. As metalworking emerged 5,000 years ago, stone weapons began their slow fade into obsolescence, replaced by copper, bronze, and iron. But for 99% of human existence, it was stone and bone and wood that kept our ancestors alive through ice ages and droughts. These prehistoric weapons were humanity's first great technology, the foundation upon which all later innovations would be built and refined. They allowed us to survive when we should have perished, to thrive where other species failed, to spread across a planet that did not welcome us. Today, we find these ancient weapons buried in caves, preserved in bogs, scattered across archaeological sites on every continent where humans once walked. Each stone point is a fossil of human ingenuity, a frozen moment of someone's skill and determination to provide for those they loved. When you hold a Paleolithic hand axe, you are touching an object shaped by human hands hundreds of thousands of years before writing was invented. You are connected directly to an ancestor who faced challenges we can barely imagine, who survived because they could turn stone into salvation. These weapons tell a story of adaptation, innovation, and the relentless human drive to overcome every obstacle nature placed in our path. They remind us that we are not naturally strong or fast or well-armed by biology, but we became dangerous through our minds and hands. The spear thrower, the bow, the stone point. These simple tools made us apex predators and allowed our species to flourish against impossible odds. Without them, there would be no cities, no agriculture, no civilization, because our ancestors would never have survived long enough to build anything. The prehistoric weapons that fed our forebears also shaped our evolution, favoring those with the dexterity, intelligence, and social cooperation to use them effectively. They drove the development of language, as hunters needed to coordinate complex strategies and pass knowledge between generations with precision and clarity. They influenced our brain development, as the cognitive demands of creating and using tools selected for larger, more capable minds across countless generations. In a very real sense, we are who we are today because of the weapons our ancestors invented to survive the ancient world. The stone points and spear throwers in museums are not just artifacts, but chapters in the story of how we became human beings. They are evidence of our capacity for innovation, our ability to see solutions where others see only obstacles, our determination to endure and prevail. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to craft your own spear point from raw flint? To feel the connection to those ancient hands? The skills our ancestors mastered are not entirely lost. Modern flint knappers still practice the ancient art, keeping the old knowledge alive today. When they strike stone and sharp flakes fly, they are performing an action unchanged for 2 million years, a ritual older than our species itself. These prehistoric weapons were the first tools that allowed us to shape our environment, rather than simply adapt to whatever nature provided. They were the beginning of technology, the first step on a path that would lead to spacecraft and computers and all the wonders of the modern world. Yet in their simplicity lies a profound truth. The most important innovations are often the ones that solve the most basic problems of existence. For our ancestors, that problem was survival, and the solution was a sharpened stone held in a determined hand against the darkness and cold. The weapons are silent now, buried in museum drawers and archaeological collections, but they once sang with the sound of survival and triumph. They are monuments to human resilience, testaments to the fact that we have always been inventors, always been survivors, always been more than we seemed. In the end, prehistoric weapons were more than tools for hunting and war. They were instruments of human destiny and transformation across time. They carried us through ice ages and droughts, across continents and oceans, from the edge of extinction to the masters of the earth. And in their stone edges, we can still read the story of how fragile creatures with clever hands became the most dangerous species ever to walk beneath the ancient stars.